Hello YouTube, welcome back to Kind Heart Homestead. My name is Ben and I'm here on our off-grid property in the mountains of Virginia. Right next to me is our solar shed, which the outside is pretty much complete. However, there's a lot yet to be done. Most of it inside, but one more thing I wanted to knock out outside before I move into the building to work on drywall is our gutters. I have a bunch of 10-foot pieces in the Prius here. Mixture of PVC pipes as well as PVC gutters, trying to get all the materials to match. The reason I went with PVC is because of the low cost, ease of use, and because I have to use PVC pipe to get the water from the gutters over to a giant rain barrel, which I have yet to purchase, but you'll get to see that in a future video. So go ahead and subscribe, stick around, and I'll be right back. Before I start working on the gutters, I need to swap out my hiking boots for my work boots and prepare the site. I put my sawhorses in place to construct a temporary workbench. That way I'll have a place to stage materials. Then I put a few of the gutters and downspout accessories over on the front of the building for when I work on the front, and then I only put up the materials I plan to use on the north side on the workbench. You can see there I have 3 lengths, because I'm going to have to splice the gutters, connecting them together to span the full length of the building. Next, I set up a pair of ladders, that way I'm not constantly moving a ladder back and forth. With one on each end, I can climb up one side, tape my chalk line to its intended location. Then I could snap a chalk line representing the fall that the gutters need to achieve to get from the topmost point to the bottom point, which will eventually have a downspout. The manufacturer recommends a 1/8 inch fall for every 10-foot length installed. That seems pretty shallow to me, but I did 3/8 inch fall total just to be safe. The only way I could figure out how to apply the mounting clips to these PVC gutters was to thread them in from one end. The manufacturer says not to exceed 24-inch spacing. I did 27 because that's where every third rib falls on my roofing, and I just wanted everything to look perfectly aligned. I've actually never installed gutters before, metal or PVC. The hardest part for me was figuring out how to support the other end of the 10-foot length so that I could use both hands to work on the fasteners without the other side sagging or falling off. You could see here that gutters tend to twist and flex. So what I decided to do was use painter's tape to hang it from the roof. That may not have worked if I had shingles on the roof, but the metal roofing is sleek enough to allow that adhesive to bond correctly. I wasn't able to reuse the tape though, because they do accumulate dust pretty fast. So I did keep my roll of tape handy. But you could see here that I have to use the awl in combination with my hammer to stamp a pilot hole, similar to how I created pilot holes in the roofing system, because the screws are not designed for metal. They're not self-tapping. They're zinc coated for weather protection, but they're just wood screws. I think they're between 2 and 3 inches long. The first inch is going to stay in that hanger, but the rest of it should have plenty of threads embedded within the subfascia 2x6 framing to allow these to stay intact. I don't know exactly how long these are going to last. They're about half the price of metal gutters, but I've heard they only last half as long. All of these fittings that I'm adding are gasketed. You could see here I'm really trying to work on this joint. It's the first joint I've done, and it took me several attempts to get it right. In the future, I think I'll know what to do, but when I get the clip on, I have to center it by whacking it with the back of my hammer. Let me know if you know a better way, but the gasket makes it so stiff that I can't move it by hand. I saved the partial piece for last because I find that it's a lot easier to measure the gap where the missing piece is than it is to measure the entire length of the roof and calculate the cuts. So this cut is about 4 feet, and I wasn't sure exactly what tool would be best to make the cut, so I got out my oscillating tool. It has a very fine-toothed blade on it, and it's great for cutting all sorts of materials, including PVC pipe. Since it can cut PVC pipe, I figured cutting this thin-walled PVC material will be very easy. The only issue I ran into, besides the wind, was that the oscillating tool tends to grab the gutter and vibrate it at the same rate that the blade is shaking, which means that the material just shakes instead of cutting if it gets stuck. So you can see I'm struggling a bit to try to hold it to counter the vibrations. That way those teeth will cut instead of biting the material. I did use my speed square to draw a line in pencil. I tried to make it as straight as possible, even though the gutter is curved and it doesn't really have a good way to hook the square on it. But I did it the best that I could and cut it as square as I possibly could by hand. The cutting did leave a bunch of these little curly pieces on the end, so I used a dull razor blade to deburr this material as I would if it was a PVC pipe. This might not be necessary because it's a gasketed connection and I'm not gluing it, but at least to help prevent it from slicing my hand, I wanted to make sure there's no razor sharp edges intact on the edge of this material. You can see here that the end caps came in a 2-pack. I guess they assume you need one for both ends. And this is as easy as just pushing it on and then the gasket grabs. There's no fasteners or glue involved. To install the last piece on this wall, you can see I'm using another one of those gasketed couplers. I did not have to secure the other end because this piece is so short that I'm able to keep it roughly horizontal with one hand, but I still need to use the trick with the hammer to get enough leverage to move the gasketed fitting right at the seam between the two pieces of PVC gutter, and then I moved on to repeat this entire process for the front wall. All right, well, I didn't get too much done this trip, but that's okay because something I'll be covering in another episode is we got this camper. So if you want to see that, please subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye out for it on another episode. But what my focus was this trip, besides the camper, was getting the gutters installed. The building is 20 feet long, but there's a 2-foot overhang on each side. So the roof line is 24 feet. That means each side took about 2.5 sections of gutter because they come in 10-foot increments. And they're sloped down to the back wall over here. I'm planning to put a large water tank right here in this area. You can see some of these pipes that I have. I got thin wall PVC pipe, 4-inch, because I had to buy those adapters that convert a rectangular downspout shape to a round PVC pipe. And my downspout adapters connected to 4-inch pipe, so I couldn't really go any smaller. But what I need to figure out is how to connect the two ends together. If I had planned this a bit better, maybe I would have moved that vent higher, because that vent's right in my way. So I'm not gonna be able to finish it this trip. Basically, I just have the gutters going down, and then I don't even have a hole in the end. So I didn't put a hole yet because I might have to put the downspouts way at the end and have some sort of straps hanging down to support the pipe. There's going to be a T-fitting right in the middle that then diverts the water, combining the two gutter sides into one rain barrel. So that's all the stuff we have to look forward to in the next couple of weeks. If you're interested in all that, I hope to see you back here on Kind Heart Homestead.